What is up, everyone? It's Gage here. Welcome to the Gage Current Podcast. And today I got special guest Sonia, who works for Autism Society in the UK, and also was a teacher who taught children with autism. And firstly, guys, I'm really excited to have her on, and her story is incredible, and she has awesome energy. So I'm excited to start this off. Welcome, Sonia, and welcome to the show.
Thank you, Gage. Thank you for your warm welcome.
Yeah, of course. Now, kind of starting off, what was your journey to your late diagnosis of autism?
I think I had perhaps a very similar journey to a lot of autistic women. So I was diagnosed late. I was 28 when I found out. Um, I already thought I was autistic before having the official assessments. But yeah, it's been a journey. I think of trying to understand why you feel different, why you are different, and in a good way, why you are the way you are, but why there is something that's is always making you think that you don't really think like others, you don't really fit in the same mold as everybody else, and that kind of was the the common thread, the common um you know um experience that I had from childhood early on until my diagnosis in 2022. So yeah, it was a long journey, but I got there in the end, and now I'm enjoying being autistic as much as I can, enjoying myself. Um, yeah,
That's amazing, and I love that you found out your diagnosis actually from teaching children with autism. What a beautiful way to find out. You
yeah.
know.
So yeah, it was. I came to the UK. I was born in France, and I grew up in school and was going to school there, and um, I then did university here. And interestingly, so I went to Cambridge University, and I trained as a teacher. And my academic tutor could not understand why I couldn't understand or think through certain aspects of the teaching training role that he found so easy to teach other students to do. So I was very good at understanding the theories and the subjects, etc., that we had to learn, but I wasn't so much making sense of things like behavior management and how to get uh children to like listen to you, etc. What they found interesting isn't how I found interesting um teaching a lesson. So that was a lot of hard work that I had to put through to understand a bit more about how neurotypical children behave. And because I think autistic children are more orientated perhaps towards certain details of the teaching that you deliver. Their focus is on different things, different aspects of the lesson, and they sometimes will draw conclusions about the learning that is different that other children normally think about. So it took me a bit of time to understand more about, how to teach effectively. And through that process, I had the chance of having some autistic girls in my class who had an education and healthcare plan. What they call in the UK is what children who are autistic have when they're in mainstream schools. And so I had those girls in my class. I had one girl who was in my first year of teaching group, and she was very anxious when she was in class and when she was coming to school. And over the course of the year, her mum came to see me, and she said to me, "I don't know what you've done to her, but she looks a lot more relaxed now about coming into school. And I didn't know what she was talking back at the time. And I realized that as I was training as a teacher and trying to learn, the ways of teaching children, naturally I found it a lot easier to relate to autistic children in my class. And that's how I started to think that I may also be autistic, because with them I found it a lot easier to teach them and to understand how they think and how they approach a subject, um, what causes them problems. So this girl, for example, she was really, really good at writing stories. She could really write stories with a depth of details into them compared to other children in my class. But what she really didn't like to do was maths. Maths was something that she found really difficult to do. And so I just said to her, well, don't worry about maths. We're just going to focus on the things that you enjoy doing. But again, that's not a discourse that's necessarily accepted, in the education system, especially when you work in mainstream schools, because they will tell you, well, autistic children have to be judged and they have to be assessed against all the same subject areas that other children, and I think that puts them at a disadvantage. So I decided to do things slightly differently, um and yeah, it actually helped her a lot. She grew in confidence and had a lot more well-being when she was coming to school. She was feeling less anxious. So that was during the first year, and during the second year I had another autistic girl in a class that I taught in another school in central London. And she was really anxious also. She was biting her hands when she was coming into class. And yeah, I tried to help her to build friendships in the class. And um, I stopped putting as much pressure on her, because I think she had a lot of pressure when she was in her previous class, which was taught by another teacher. And I think by then, I started to think, well, there's something with those girls, there's something I can relate to when I'm teaching them. And that was when I started questioning whether I might be autistic. But then it was a bit of a strange investigation, because I think I I didn't have a very good understanding of autism and being on the spectrum back then. So I had also very stereotyped, I think, ideas about autism, which is probably the reason why I never thought I might myself be autistic, which is sad to say, but that's what the mainstream media has been, you know,
Oh yeah.
mentioning for so many years. Like, autistic people are mainly boys, they're mainly white boys, etc. And that's not absolutely not true.
Yeah.
um in this country, in the UK, we know now that there's higher rates of diagnostics among Black children, for example. So, and women now is on the rise as well. There's a lot of women who get assessed for being on the autism spectrum condition. So, yeah, it can be anybody, no matter where you're from and
E
what's your
for
gender.
everybody.
And yeah, and so I just worked out that I'm also autistic, and then I went through a diagnostic process, which was very long. um and yeah, and then received the diagnostic about 3 years ago now. So
Yeah, it's
yeah.
still pretty fresh, it's one of those things. It's not like you just got autism; you always had it. You just have the knowledge of it now.
Yeah, I have the knowledge, but I think the knowledge that you get once you know is more the knowledge of being yourself and how to be me, which I didn't know how to be before then. So that was the problem, really.
Mm.
The
Yeah,
problem wasn't myself. um, so yeah, it's liberation and freedom to know who you are and what you are. It's not so much about getting a diagnosis, um, because it's not an illness. It's not a flaw or anything like that. It's just a difference in brain development, a difference in being, in thinking, in behaving, in regulating your emotions and your sensory experiences. We are much more attuned to things, etc. So it's, it's a very different way of being and experiencing the world, but it's fine as it is, and it's beautiful, in fact. But if we had more acceptance, I think, of ourselves first, because I think the problem is we're not really helped to understand what we are about, what we are like with confidence. It's always about um, medicalizing autism, the discourse that we hear a lot in the mainstream media. So if we had a lot more, um, if we were trusted a lot more and had a lot more, confident reception out there about us and what, how to be in the world, I think we will be in a much better position in society. So I still
Oh
feel
yeah.
like that we're not as included as we could be.
And
But
how many more examples do we need, to really be like, you know what, autism is actually really awesome? Is there, do we need like a Superman to come in, be like, yeah, I'm autistic, let's roll?
yeah,
Do we need like a magical superhero to like get the ball rolling? Because like you got Elon Musk, who literally owns Twitter, is autistic. You got Albert Einstein, who's a genius, he was autistic. And now there's actually even, you go back even further, there's a lot of scientists that were autistic, and people like Greta Thunberg and amazing, incredible, influential people that are autistic. And even if you look at charts of like, okay, you got your neurotypical brain next to an autism brain, Larry, because there's colors lighting up some of the neurotypical brains, but the autism brain's fully lit, like it's fully vibrant. And to me, what that says is we use a lot more of our brains. I'm not sure 100% science wise, but to me, I think we use more of our brains. We tap in a little bit more. I would call it similar to that movie with Bradley Cooper, where it might be called Limitless, but basically he takes a pill that uses 100% his brain. And I feel like that's almost what a lot of or like our brains would use. Like we use a lot more of our brain than probably someone with like a neurotypical person,
yeah, that
and
sounds really interesting. I completely agree with that as well.
yeah, it's at least
Yeah,
my thought process on it. From looking at those different sayings, there's still sayings coming out, but that's at least how I think of it. And I was watching this show, Prison Break, and they don't say he's autistic, but it's very obvious he has the traits of an autistic character. And how they're like, yeah, this, like how his brain works, he literally sees things that your average person wouldn't. Like we see
hmm,
a lamppost, but that person's seeing literally everything. And I'm sure like people on the genius level are similar like that. Like Musk probably sees a lot things a lot more than your average person would, because he's tapping on a level that's almost uncomprehendable to your average person. You know,
yeah,
that might be a little exaggerated on my part, but it's at least kind of gist of what it is.
yeah,
And what I think of masking, just these two parts where you're saying like masking to me is, yeah, people with autism are fully authentic, like, and their hearts are big, so they have a hard time trying to fake who they are, to please other people. And I think that's a gift. We all should have a little bit more of that integrity and being
yeah,
ourselves. Because like if you have to be, there's times where you have to act a certain way in public displays. But I think overall, if you're doing that all the time, you forget who you are, and it's just not real, and
yeah.
especially in this society with AI, we need more realness, because authenticity is unfortunately becoming a rarity nowadays.
Absolutely. I think what you're saying is really powerful. Um, yeah, I'm absolutely believing in what you're saying. I think there are some days where I'm actually wondering whether I'm using my brain at my full capacity, you know, and and yeah, it is amazing. I think, and I think the world is still, you know, not not there yet with understanding what it is, and yeah. So the more I think we can have more positive messages like what you just said, I think the better it is. um yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and I think if we think about what's, like, last week I heard on social media and mainstream television that the scandal around paracetamol, or I can't remember which kind of drug, was being said by someone to be associated with autism, created a huge scandal. But at the same time, people who are, scandalizing this type of statements also come from an understanding of autism that's still deeply rooted in a medical model, and that, you know, that is not really helping us either.
No.
Um, Here in the UK, autism is still, classified as in the DSM-5, the Diagnostic Manual for Mental Health, as
Yeah.
a condition. So, you know, it's very difficult, I think, to for us to, if we listen to these kind of like messages all the time, to kind of understand more about it and what we are, and how to appreciate ourselves. So yeah, absolutely agree with what you said.
And I forgot to add this one part. In the show, like it's a show I got back into. I watch it like yearly because I just love it. Um, and the character, his name is Michael Schofield. So not only that, because they're going for this episode where the therapist is telling this doctor who's guy is falling in love with the character, and and he was basically telling her like Michael, he is very empathetic. Basically, like he cares more about other people than even his own life.
Yeah.
Himself. So like I love it because it shows exactly all the traits of autism. Like people like me and you and a lot of our community are very empathetic. Like we feel a lot of people's emotions around us,
Mhm.
and also like and even how he kind of like he doesn't always show his emotions, you know, like expression, like and because you just because we're just kind of being, we don't really know, like we don't try to put on a show for other people. Now there is
Mhm.
like for me, I'm very expressive even when I try not to, but it's kind of I think more to people that are more on like the genius level of autism have a very hard time expressing their emotions. Basically, kind of where this character's at. Like pretty much he was saying is like he's a genius, and that's why like he has a hard time expressing his emotions. And I honestly, I'll probably say like majority of geniuses are probably autistic. That's probably why they are able to be geniuses because they tap on a level that's deeper than your average brain.
Mhm.
Because it's like that's kind of going back to that chart. That's why I think it's like our brains has a lot more colors and it's more vibrant
Mhm.
because we're tapping on levels that your average brain just cannot.
That's really, really interesting. There's a friend of mine. She also came across. So it's not. It's an article, I think, that was published by some kind of Russian researcher, and she talks about the autistic brain being a lot more in tune with the world around, out there, and the world, like understanding more about, perhaps specific vibrations or meanings that other people can't actually access. So we're more in tune with things, actually. We're more receptive to, I think that's what you mean. We're more receptive to like emotions, but also, I guess, situations and what people experience around us. So it's really, really interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, that's why if like and it's like you were saying earlier about the mainstream media. Like personally, right now in my country, like you have Donald Trump and RFK Jr. saying that autism is now created by a medicine you get out of the cabinet. For I forget exactly what it is for headaches or whatever. But it's like what? Like they're trying to put pin autism on something like, oh my god, like how can we stop this? We got pin on something. It's like no, that's actually not true. And secondly, autism isn't something that is created. It's something that you're just born with. But how they're saying is like, yeah, basically almost to me, it's almost putting blame on the parents. It's like, why are we doing this? Like, why are we trying to make this a problem when we should really find resources? And to me personally, what I would like to see happen is like them really exploring how to help people with autism explore their interests to make it a long sustained career and livelihood of them, while balancing out just daily life. Because like I have this come up, where I get so interested in something I can go full board, but I get burnt out so quickly because I don't bounce it out. I'm just like going, 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 going. So that's why I hope I would love for them to add like brain meditation, how meditation can help someone with autism and how it can affect like them balancing out their life, and different things like that. And just really putting the resources to heightening people with autism instead of like trying to figure out what's wrong and like, how can we stop this? It's not, there's no cure. I'm just gonna, a shortcut, spoiler, there's no cure, so there's no point even trying to find it, because this is just a gift, and not everyone has it, and I think it's focusing on that instead of putting people with autism down, saying there's something
Mhm.
wrong with them because it doesn't help. It actually hurts the whole community. That's why
Mhm.
we all got to come together. That's why I don't even give a shit about the science or anything behind it. I go with what I've seen. I don't go by like numbers all the time because numbers tell you, they give you an idea, but they don't tell you the full story. I've talked to people with autism. I'm autistic myself, and I've seen how beautiful of a gift it is, and that's really what we should be focusing on as a society. Maybe I think a lot of everybody could learn. They should take a couple of notes from the community's book, because there's a lot of authenticity in the autism community.
Yeah. How do you meditate?
How I meditate, I make it simple. Sometimes I do longer ones, but for me, like sometimes when I get up, when I'm not feeling the greatest in the morning, I just sit on my bed, I close my eyes, I do kind of traditional meditation stance, and I just imagine myself in a place that I love. It could be it's usually for me, it's like a beach. Maybe for you, it's being outdoors to in the woods. To me, it's being at an ocean, just I feeling the waves wash over me and feeling I like just feeling the calming energy flow through me. I also like to envision like my chakras line up as well. Like my body's kind of lighting up a little bit,
Mhm.
you know, and I just like that.
Great.
I like to feel that stillness for a little while. I usually do it for like 5 minutes. And sometimes after meditations, I will sometimes imagine myself looking at a sunset on a cliff hill, and just bring myself to my safe space, and also when I have faults come through, like all these faults come through, this, it's, I like to put it in clouds and just watch it float away, and all my faults just go away, and I actually feel more still, and no matter what happens, I feel a lot more balance, and I feel like anything that's gonna come my way, I feel like I can maneuver.
That's great. That's great.
That's how I do it, at least. People have different styles, but that's always kind of what works for me. And I
Yeah, it's
also,
great to hear that because I also think that we need more tools or like systems like meditations to work and get through the day.
yeah, yeah,
So
for sure. Especially all the shit that's going on, like lately. I know I need it, especially. I haven't really made a lot of videos because that's kind of stuff does happen, but my meditations has kept me cool as a cucumber. Because like after basically my hours got cut of work, and I already know like I just started working there like probably like 3 weeks ago now.
mhm.
And it's a new business. There's already problems. Like there was already problems from the get go. I was like, damn, this is probably not even gonna last that long. I was hoping, but yeah, it turned out as kind of what I thought it was going to be. Like a short term thing. But but yeah, for that, for things like that, and having to say goodbye to my brother, which was tough, but it's not our first rodeo. Um, I kind of, and it's kind of being a place that I prefer not to be, but it's one of those things. Meditation has helped me tremendously. Like I got all the recipes for depression, but meditation has been a great, not even just a great tool, but just a way of life for me. It's helped me for so many things, and has given me the strength to keep moving forward. That's kind of how I felt from it. And I say this one last thing of meditation. Like no matter where you're at, you could be walking on a sidewalk. What I do when I'm feeling overwhelmed or just feeling some anxiety creep up, is I take 4 deep breaths in and then 4 deep breaths out. I'll do like 4 rounds of
Okay.
that.
Should we try that?
Oh, you want to?
Yeah.
All right, let's do it. So
Okay, I'll close
deep,
my eyes.
deep breath in and hold in for 4 seconds. Forget that part. But we'll do it the next read.
Mm-hmm.
Deep breath in, hold for 4, and let it all out. Imagine all that anxiety and negative energy kind of just coming all out. Deep
That
breath
works really
in,
well.
and it's only been like 3 rounds. How you feel?
It feels really good. Yeah,
Yeah,
feels really good. I'm gonna do the 40 breaths now, I think.
yeah. Let's do one more round.
Okay.
Like even that brings me that.
Feels really good.
Yeah. I love it. It changes my whole changes my how I'm feeling, my whole stance, everything. It changes my frame of mind.
So what else do you do to like apart from meditation, what else do you do?
Actually, I'm still kind of working on it, but currently I'm working on chakra meditation. So basically, it's focusing on the points of your body, and there's 7 main chakra points I'm still learning about, but I'm learning to focus on those. Like there's a throat chakra, there's basically your sternum, and basically goes all the way down to your stomach.
That's great.
And
Yeah.
there's one on the crown of your head. I think I do know that one. I believe it's indigo purple. Yeah, hopefully I got that right. But yeah, it's incredible. I love it. It's been amazing, and I love that meditation. It takes a lot of, but it takes a lot of focus. It can be, it's nice, but you kind of really have to feel it. And sometimes
Mhm.
that can be hard after because it's like a 15-minute meditation. So after a while, it can be hard to focus on it, but it's definitely has a massive payoff.
Mhm. Sounds really good. I think I'd like to try that too.
Yeah, I'll send you a video on it. Yeah, I forgot. I'm gonna, because you're kind of starting out with meditation. I'm gonna send you a 5 minute. It's a guided meditation. I used to do it every day before I would go to work, and got me through a
That
lot of tough
those are
times.
really good tips, I think. I think people, need this kind of knowledge or, sort of like self-management exercises or hobbies because the world of work, as you said earlier, is not so much adapted for us. So we have to kind of pursue our interests, our passions, etc. And this that can be done in work. We have to do it outside work, I guess, like everybody else. But for accessing work for us can be quite tricky sometimes. So
Very taxing.
having things like meditation, breathing, I think is definitely something I need to implement more when I'm working, because yeah, it has really good effect on your health, I think, and how to regulate as well your emotions. So I want to try that. Thank you, Gage. I'm going to try it.
Yeah, of course, and I'm always grateful to share that because I know it's helped me in so many ways. I actually started meditation during the pandemic, like 5 years ago. And I was like 20 then, so I'm lucky I got early on. But yeah, my brother is the one that originally introduced me to it. It was funny because oh, we are so young back then, but we were doing this one meditation that can supposedly help you do telekinesis. Yeah, so it was funny how it originally started because because we're just because me and him are because even my brother back then was like in his he was like in his mid 20s, so we're pretty young, so we're kind of started out that way. Then we actually got into like meditations, and you have to people in the spiritual community know that it is technically possible to do telekinesis, but man, it takes like decades. Like it takes some serious shit to get that. But that's on the spiritual. Not a lot of people believe in it. Even I have a hard time really seeing that.
Can you
Um,
explain what it is in more detail? Can you?
Telekinesis, basically, kind of like in movies where you can basically move my soda can for mind. You can move
Okay.
objects for your mind. Yeah, it
Yeah,
almost reminds you of like you ever watch Star Wars?
I'm not at that level of using my brain yet.
Yeah, that's what
My
I'm saying. I
autistic brain.
like to me personally, I haven't seen it, so I have a hard time believing it, you know. But my brother read something about it, but like I'm like, I don't know about that. I haven't
Might be
seen it.
possible. I don't know.
Yeah, it's got like, if that's possible, man, I better learn how to fly then. But yeah, it kind of started out like that, but then we actually got into legit meditations and and we actually did this priming by Tony Robbins. It actually, my God, I'll say this: like Tony Robbins actually was a great teacher for me early on, but man, his priming because he literally primes you up for the day, and you literally get to like I cried during it. Like I cried multiple times during priming, because it made me see memories of like someone one of my brothers that passed away, and I literally saw him like he was right in front of me. Like it
Mhm.
was very very powerful. And that's kind of how my meditation journey started. And more context, during this time I was suicidal, so like it was a very crucial part of my in that time period,
Mhm.
because during that time period, I was very suicidal, from like kind of how I grew up, growing up autistic and low expectations and the lack of just love and belief, not from my main family, because my mom and dad, and my brother, I'm my older brother. I always felt love from them, but it's really from like most people just, when you're autistic, they see you as lower almost, like you're a damn ant sometimes,
Yeah.
so it's coming from all that and just from a lot of trauma and then losing my older brother, like all that added up and meditation and having support really helped me push through that hard time, to be able to have any way to look at what I have, as far as gratitude and good things I do have in my life. So
Mhm.
meditation literally can save your life. I guess I'm a testament to that.
It's a great testimony and story, and yeah, I can only feel like there's a lot of courage in what you are sharing your story, and yeah, a lot of I'm honored to hear that, because I feel like it's through hearing this that people can have the courage to overcome the difficulties they experience. And in relation to being autistic, I can relate to finding things difficult as well. I had very hard time when I was in school. I'm trying to be um talk about it positively, but it was really difficult. It was really, really difficult. And I think, you know, it's through our stories that we can sort of, find a common shared, shared events, or, shared emotions, and relate our experiences with each other, and support each other. So thanks for sharing.
Yeah, it's no problem. And it is hard sometimes to look at past experiences like schooling as like anything positive. I kind of, on a when I talked to you personally, I kind of told you a little bit about my school life. Basically, it's being special eds class, clean fucking cafeteria tables while, and the kids are walking by, they're seeing this.
Yeah.
And I think that's very bad. I don't think that's a good idea that they did that because that causes bullying. And we had a couple of classes, but we also had like a couple of days where we literally be at school for majority of the time, be cleaning up trash from Walmart or
Hmm.
cleaning up fucking church. I'm like, guys, what the fuck are you doing? Excuse my language, but like how is this really helping us?
Yeah.
Like we're not learning things that we really should be learning that's going to help us long term wise.
Yeah. And,
You teach us
you
to be
know,
janitors, basically. It's
yeah.
like, and it caused a lot of bullying early on. So that's, it's kind of my young school trouble.
Yeah. And, I was telling you earlier about my experiences teaching girls in school. And that's also why I stopped teaching, because I found it very difficult to, not not being able to, help autistic children more, um, because, as I said, they have to be assessed against the same standards than the rest of the children who fall into the same norms of development. And again, that we could discuss whether all children fall into the same norms of development, but in terms of, um, so what you call in, you said you call special schools in the
Yeah, we
US.
call it special
We
ed.
have special schools here as well. And, so when I was teaching in mainstream general schools, I felt that I wanted to do more for autistic children, and it wasn't so much working for me as well, being an autistic teacher in the mainstream system, to just be, just, have a very restricted, uh, way of, like, planning, etc., what I needed to deliver in terms of teaching. So it was quite difficult for me to navigate, because I didn't feel that it was a place where I could feel, that I could where I could really help those children, because I had a very prescribed curriculum that they needed to, like, be assessed against. And so then I thought, well, I'm going to teach just autistic children. But then, and then I started teaching in special schools as well. And in special schools, I didn't find as well the teaching, etc., very rewarding, because I was told as a teacher I had to do things this way, that way.
Mm.
And, you're talking about, you were in a special school, they made you clean, or, like,
Yeah.
do, like, tasks like that, and in those special schools, I can completely relate to that, even though I haven't been to special schools, as a pupil, but only as a teacher. I don't think it's very rewarding. And, I don't think it's helping an individual, a human being, to develop dignity, to make them learn how to clean tables every day, or mop the floors, or, you know take the trash out. So, it's very, yeah, there's a lot more we could talk about, I think, here, but completely understands. But so what did you do then? What was your, what did you do when you left school?
Oh my!
Did you
I
work?
wasn't in the greatest place because because I got held. I believe I got held back a year at some point. I was really young, so I don't really remember. But yeah, I graduated when I was like 19. And at that point, I was kind of like I was a little lost, like I was just kind of game for a day. And I will get into a lot of my addictions. Like my biggest addiction back in the day was video games, because I feel like I could be the character I wanted to be, and I love storylines. So I'm a big story guy. So that's like, I was like that was my gateway. That was my drug, if you could put it that way. And between that, football, and different things. So I basically in that time period, I was just distracting myself.
Mhm.
There wasn't until I hit my breaking point. That was the pandemic. That like I had to be by myself. I was forced to face myself, and this is gonna get a little real, but I hated myself. I even look in the mirror. I was always disgusted to see myself because I just hated everything about me. Because I felt like I wasted a lot of my life. There's that because I had a lot of regrets. And I always question my existence. Like, am I even meant to be here anymore? And there's a point even I hated God. I'm like, why did you make me smart enough to realize how dumb I am, or how and this is my mindset back then was like how worthless I was, and because I had a lot of words from, when I was bullied, and my parents always did the best they can, but my dad didn't always handle stress the best way, you know. Um, and all that had a factor. Like, he never hit me or anything, but he had a bit of a anger. He had a bit of an anger problem, so he would yeah, sometimes he would take that out on, like, especially I was not the easiest kid, so he would take that out verbally sometimes. But all of that added up, and I just kind of hit my point where I was literally I didn't want to be here anymore, and there's a point to where you got to live for yourself, and you got to forgive yourself, because look at a lot of people, and I've seen people that either are alcoholics or into drugs. Usually it's because they hate themselves, because if you love yourself, you ain't doing that, you know um and I think a lot of it's never the drugs, it's never the alcohol, it's never the video games, it's literally yourself. It's because you
That's
hate
really,
yourself,
really hard. Hmm.
and it takes this takes forgiving yourself and loving yourself. That's ultimately what it took. And for me, I had a this is a very deep moment. And I hit a point where I was literally after I found out about my brother, about his overdose. I was on the brink of, like, I wanted to just see him. I wanted to be with him, and because I didn't want I was barely surviving, just being in this world, and but I almost heard his voice in my mind saying I would never, that he would never want me to do this. He want me to keep living, to try to make the most out of this life. And so my motivation on living, it was also to live for him, to live the life he couldn't either, because he died very young. Um, so my so I was like, you know what, fuck it.
So that's how you made
Fuck
the
it.
shift.
I'm gonna give this one last shot, and I'm gonna do it my way though. I'm not going to listen to whatever people are saying. I'm going to follow my heart from now on. Well, I didn't say it that way, but years later, I had made that decision. But I decided to live the life I wanted to, not what everyone else said I could, or because that life fucking sucks.
That's great. But no way. Yeah,
Heck yeah. And
it's
so,
so inspiring. Your story is really, really inspiring. It's really inspiring. And so how did you start self-love then? How did you
I
start
forgave
living a life of
myself for
self-love?
everything. I broke down and cried. I literally forgave myself for everything. I imagined myself hugging my younger self, telling him it wasn't his fault, and you know that he's amazing. That it wasn't his fault, and he's loved. You know, because at the end of the day, especially I would say males have a hard time at being vulnerable like that. Um, so it's important to remind you to love yourself truly like that. To imagine you're hugging yourself and giving that person love, even if that part of yourself you didn't like all the time. It wasn't your fault. You're just a kid. And not all our. I'm sure majority of our family lives were not great. So, so it's just loving yourself. And for me, I imagine all the times I was bullied, or all the times my parents might have fought, or having arguments with my parents, and clean trash, um and just feeling alone, and seeing people's expressions. I can feel what they're saying, but basically looking down on me, all those moments, and I just forgave myself for all of them, and mostly of the people, because that's the hardest thing, is really forgiving them for what they've done to you. Because really, I look at it like this now. I look at it as they're just unconscious. If they really were attuned to their hearts, and naturally, as humans, we're made to love, so they were in their egos. So they're unconscious. So that's how I look at it now. And I didn't think about it like that back then, but I was like, I'm forgiving them, not for them, but for me.
It's really inspiring.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Yeah,
It's
it was a hard time, but I don't story gets me every time, no matter how many times I say it, but I know it in the past has helped a lot of people when I shared it, so
Your
I
story
share
is
them again.
beautiful. Thank you for sharing.
Of course. Yeah, yeah, no, I loved your story too. It's beautiful, and it shows me you're very authentic, and that's why, like, when I found your Instagram, because I was looking for people to follow that were autism related. Like, I loved your story because you posted a lot about birds, nature, and I was like, wow. And not only just posting it, but putting a very soulful words on it. Which I was like, man, that is beautiful and amazing, man. Because it's fucking real. You know what I mean? It's real. It's not, you're not trying to get it for likes. You're just posting just to post
Yeah, yeah. Thanks for that. Those compliments.
it. And knowing that also you're really into Japanese culture and also into anime, which is honestly, I got into that when I was 16, and it's absolutely my favorite. I love it.
Yeah, anime is great too. Oh,
Oh yeah, yeah. It's and it's when it comes to all that, I there there's always something to be grateful for, in life, and I always remind myself of that. And I wasn't even in my mind. I've lived longer than I thought I would, and it's been a beautiful time. It's just meditation, and always remind yourself of what you have. And it's always learning. Like, I'm always learning more about meditations, more about life, lessons, even manifestation, just things that are just about life.
yeah. Yesterday I was talking to someone and um sharing some, like, difficulties, and he was like, "But you already have everything you need around you." And I was like, "That's actually true."
Yeah, it
So
is.
he's like, "You just need to realize that." And I think that's definitely hard when you've just been through very experiences that are very depreciative or not helping you to, like, tap into yourself. I think that's the most important thing for everybody out there, autistic people or non-autistic people. So yeah, for me, it's going in nature, because I feel at peace in nature when I take a walk in a garden, for example, or if it's in the woods. I go a lot to the botanical gardens because I love flowers, and I love, I love looking at them and and plants, and also birds. So yeah, I catch birds. People don't understand what it is, and they make fun of me. But yeah, I've been training to be a bird ringer here, and I do that when I have time. I have a really good trainer, and yeah, we catch birds with nets. And it's funny because I'll tell you, when I started doing the bird catching, we catch birds, but birds are sometimes they're in completely different conditions when you catch them. So sometimes you have birds that are really, really, bright and well and healthy, and sometimes you have birds that arrive and they're completely their plumage, which is their feathers are completely damaged,
Ragged.
etc. They went through like hard stuff, and so my trainer is like, well, that's a bird that, she said, has been um like destroyed or went like through some stuff that we we so it's a bit like human beings, people going through different stuff in life. And so when we catch the birds, I try and see them, and I always try and think that actually the birds have everything they need to keep on going, to keep on living. They keep flying, they keep feeding themselves, etc. Once we caught a bird that was in very bad state, had a missing eye, etc., but it was still feeding itself, it was still trying to live, etc. So it sometimes I find inspiration as well when I look at animals and how they survive,
Mm.
because we don't actually know what's happened to them when we catch them wild. And recently, I think I had made this post that you commented on social media, where I put a photo of a white throat bird, which is a very small bird, the size of a sparrow, but it has this really nice white neck. And that bird, when I caught it, it was immaculate. It was, in perfect condition, and it looked so beautiful. And it was at one with nature. And I looked at it and I was like, this bird just shows that we all have, when we are in our perfect state, when we are really valuing ourselves, just have everything in us that we need to, like, to live life. um so yeah, it's just something that I like to do because it helps me to, just to like create, I guess, some kind of philosophy for myself and understanding um life and people. um but wild animals, humans, we're all part of the same thing. We all come from nature, and um, God, whatever you believe in. And
We didn't
yeah, I
always have
think.
buildings and towers.
Oh, sorry, sorry.
We didn't always have buildings and towers. Like he said, we all come from nature. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
originally
we all
where that's
have
where we were.
ability. Yeah, we all have gifts, and I want to cherish that. I want to believe that, because I think that's it sounds a bit um fairy tale, but it's not. I think if we listen to ourselves, we can do anything we want, but we just have to have the courage to do it. And that's what I want to believe. So we can achieve what we want to achieve.
Absolutely, we can. It's what it is. It's about letting go. What more I learn about life. I've traveled to. My tie is pretty significant. There's people that travel countries, but so far for me, I've traveled states, and it's been life changing. I went to a hostel. I volunteered there for 2 months, and another one I was a manager, and both incredible and life changing experiences.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it's getting out in the world, and seeing the beauty of it, and a lot of things we can achieve anything we want to do, literally anything we want to do, but it takes a different frame of mind. So you change our mindset to what we did, because a lot of our mindsets are things that is still of our older selves that would do a lot of escapism. For me, that's still a struggle for me, and I'm kind of reframing that into the person you want to be. You can't wait to be that person. You got to be him now or she, you know. And it's just reframe your mind and doing things that the person you want to be will be doing. So that's how you change your life. It's taking action, but also I think it's for me, it's a lot about trusting God as well. Not everyone, for those that believe in God or just a higher power, you got to trust in him, and be like, what, human gauge can't figure out all this shit, so I'll trust in God on this one, and this might help. So this might help some people, but what I say when something doesn't go my way or I don't get something I want, I always say it wasn't meant to be, because literally if it was meant to be, you would have it,
That's a
you know.
great. That's a great, a great statement quote. Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, that's what's always helped me, because I get very frustrated, and but that I was always tell up myself that, and it's helped tremendously. And I don't even have to think about it anymore, and that could shit, if you're late, if you're like if you're in traffic and you're about to run late for work, you're like, literally wasn't meant to be, not going to work, but it's like our actions always have ripple effects, and it's but also it's trusting God on that. Anything we want to do, we got to put the action in, change your frame of mind, but also trust in God, because that will lead you to where you want to be.
It's a great, great teaching.
Oh, I know you have to get off here soon, but I wanted to ask you, what message would you give to people that are still discovering their gift of autism, and those that are struggling?
I think um, I think for those who are discovering their gifts is um, to actually trust it more, to stop listening about what people are going to tell them about it, what kind of definition they're going to receive on, a statement they're going to receive on their autism. Um, you get the report, the diagnostic report, the life story, and um, that's just a report. It's just printed on paper, and I think they need to kind of like um, yeah, just think that that's not, it's what's happened in the past, but they have now got a key to find out more about who they are, um, by just believing in themselves and in their, their autistic self. Um, so yeah, I think it's about, sort of moving away from what other people will say about your autism, and kind of like tapping in yourself more, and yeah, trusting yourself more and trusting how you feel about things. And for people who are struggling, I think I think it's not to give up, not to give up on life, um, and trust love, because I think that's what is the most important. Um, so if they can find some people, surround themselves with people that love them, if they can find love in, helping pets or doing an activity that they love, anything that brings them love and life, I think that's what they should hold on to and pursue over anything else. Yeah,
That's very beautiful. And it's super great advice. Because that's what life is. It's love. We're made to love, and it's only when we mix it with ego that it
yeah.
goes bad.
And I
But if we
think,
truly just love somebody, that's what the life
yeah,
is about.
yeah, absolutely. And it's hard when you haven't felt loved for your whole life, and then you receive some kind of diagnostics that tells you you are this, you're that, doesn't make sense. Um, so yeah, go back to love. I think that's my advice.
And that's literally the best advice someone could ever give. It's literally all about love. Like Bob Marley, he had it down. Thank you so much for coming on. Hopefully I can get you on here again because I know we have so much to talk about. But it's so great to have you on here, and it's been an absolute pleasure.
It was my pleasure, Gage, and looking forward to speak with you again.
I look forward to it too. It's going to be awesome. We always have some great conversations. Thank you everyone for joining in. I hope you really enjoyed this video. Give some love to Sonia on Instagram. It's all autistic teacher or autism teacher on Instagram. So give her plenty of love because she has some awesome stuff on there. Send much love to you guys and have a beautiful week.